Chelsea's going to win.
How much?
3-0.
If only you said that now, Todd. For the majority of this season, Spurs have been leading the Premier League table, surprising everyone with their mental toughness. Granted, some of those wins have been controversial, but the Lily Whites were impressive to say the least. In stark contrast, Chelsea were being as awful as usual, only scratching wins against relegation candidates. In fact, before this game happened, Chelsea had fewer points than Haaland had goal contributions this season. So, in the lead up to this match, Tottenham were the clear favorites. Then the day of the match happened. And holy smokes. Despite Chelsea's high pressing early on, it was Spurs who would take the lead through a weird Kulusevski attempt. 7 minutes later, Son thought he had doubled the lead, but it was deemed offside. Chaos ensues when Udogie lunges in with both feet on Sterling, which should have been a red, but the left back got away with just a yellow. In the 21st minute, Sterling scores, but it's ruled out for a handball. 6 minutes later, Chelsea score again, but it's ruled out again, after Nicholas Jackson was deemed to have interfered with the play from an offside position. This match was already messy enough, but in the 31st minute, Romero makes an awful challenge on Enzo, concedes a penalty, and gets sent off. Palmer sends it in, and Chelsea are level. Things only get worse for Spurs as, just 1 minute into added time, both James Maddison and Mickey van de Ven get injured and need to be taken off. Then, just as it seems this pandemonium is about to end, Colwill and Sarr get into a scuffle and both receive bookings, while 2 minutes later, Reece James almost gets sent off for elbowing Udogie during a duel earlier in the match. Mercifully, the halftime whistle sounded soon after that. I don't think I've ever seen a London derby this heated. For a second, I thought I was watching Pep vs Mourinho El Clasico. Things aren't looking good for Spurs. Not only are they down to 10 men, but both Romero and Van de Ven are off, meaning they'll have to rely on Dyer and Emerson Royale for the rest of the match. Oh, and their chief creator is out injured. Somehow, despite all this, Chelsea couldn't capitalize on Spurs' situation. But with Tottenham already down a man, they would go into the second half, playing cautious. That is so typically Spursy. Now with Udogie sent off too, Spurs had to play the rest of the match with just 9 men. You would think that Chelsea would feast on this, but in typical Bowley era fashion, Chelsea would fail miserably at making anything happen despite Spurs pressing so high. That is until the 75th minute, when Jackson finally broke the deadlock. Chelsea were leading against 9-man Spurs and were on their way to victory, only to immediately almost blow it with Dyer's volley being ruled offside. That's right, Bowley's Chelsea almost bottled a 1-goal lead within a few minutes against a team down to 9 men. Spurs would continue bombarding forward, but in the 94th minute, Chelsea finally found their shooting boots and put the game to bed. Tottenham are handed their first Premier League loss of the season as Chelsea skyrocket to 10th in the Premier League. Now, I've already seen quite a few Chelsea fans online bragging about how they were back, they were qualifying for the Champions League, this and that. Let me shoot that down real quick. You lots won a game against a team that was down to 9 men, lost their main creative force, lost both their starting center backs, had to replace them with a fringe player and an out-of-position wingback, and you still couldn't control the game until the 94th minute. Only Todd Bowley's Chelsea could win 4-1 and still look terrible. So despite the number of Blues fans saying how Chelsea are back, especially since they recently held Man City to a 4-4 draw recently, but are they really? I'm not convinced. They played a 4-4 draw at home against a City side that suddenly reverted back to a 3-2-4-1 formation with Kyle Walker at center back. Need I remind you, the last time the Citizens tried that, it didn't work out so well. So the Blues are actively bragging about getting a draw at home against a City side that effectively gave themselves a handicap. But what do you think? Are Chelsea back? Let me know down in the comments.